and the ways to pitch better, the ways to better understand who and what to pitch. First of all, who am I and why am I actually talking about this particular topic? I have been a technology journalist since 2007. Currently, I'm a freelancer working for The Next Web, Ars Technica UK, and the Kyiv Post. And in addition to these gigs, I'm also running a newsletter, podcast, and startup consultancy called PROIDEA. So I both collect news stories about Central and Eastern European startups, and I also consult Eastern European startups on how to build their media relations. So basically, I am able to look at the question of pitch in media from both perspectives of a journalist and of a startup. And there are some things that could be seen when looked at like this. What I'm going to talk right now is basically there are basic principles that I normally apply when working with startups, when explaining startups how to pitch better. From the journalist perspective, pitches that some companies say to journalists look like this picture. Crafting the stories is one thing, but understanding whom to pitch, when to pitch, and how to pitch is a particular task that not every startup has mastered so far. So we see, I see a lot in my own inbox. I see a lot of irrelevant stories that are aimed at media that would not be interested in them, pitched at bad time, and I very often see pitches that definitely are sent to many inboxes of different journalists without changes at all. And press releases. I didn't mention it here, but yeah, that's press releases. It's also something I see a lot, and I wouldn't like to. However, this can be solved. This can be solved particularly using data out there. The kinds of data you can use is from aggregators, from different email newsletters, from RSS feeds, just using Google News alerts, and using social media. And next I'm going to show one example of how what kind of open data can be used in order to understand what media to pitch with what stories and when to do this. To do this example, I use my own email newsletter called PROIDEA. The first issue of this newsletter was sent out in April 2015, and after the first year of the newsletter's existence, I took all the news headlines that were sent out and took a look at them. So there were about 1,500 headlines in both English and local languages. These were all news about tech startups and tech companies and other tech-related stories from different media. What did I see first? I took only those stories that were in English. I had about 950-something stories, I think, and I divided them into countries the stories were about and into categories the stories were about. In terms of countries, the leader was Russia, and I'm going to explain a bit later why there were so many stories about Russia in the media. Then comes Ukraine, then comes Poland, then come the Baltic states, and then the rest of Central and Eastern European countries. And then I put all the news into 5 different categories. First of all, it's non-time sensitive stories, features, reports from events, market reports, and all kinds of things like that. Then the next one is startups and ecosystems news, which is basically announcements from startups, announcements from accelerators, VC funds, and other ecosystem players. And then there are funding and merger news, big companies news, and then all kinds of governmental and policy news. And then the other news that didn't fit into any other category. So this is how the media landscape looks for the Central and Eastern Europe. But then there is a way to dig even deeper than that. I just took a look and divided all the media covered in Central and Eastern European startups into 2 different categories. First category is the niche media, and the second category is mainstream media. Niche media are basically any outlets that would be focused on either a particular country, a particular sub-region, any particular market or any particular topic. That would be, for example, Bitspiration, which used to be also a news website, if you remember, or Arctic Startup that writes about the Baltic states, or EWDN or UADN writing about Russia and Ukraine, or 150sec or Startup Lithuania, or whatever that there could be. These are niche media. And also there are mainstream media, which are household names for tech companies, mostly global or pan-European publications that would be writing about tech. And what I saw, what you can see on this particular slide, is that almost 3/4 of all news about Central Eastern European tech companies and startups were actually contributed by the niche English language media. And only 1/4 were actually covered by the big major publications. So what I'm going to show you next is how the mainstream media see the Central Eastern European region, and what stories they are mostly interested in. And this is again an example of how open data can be used to determine what stories are interesting for different media outlets. So first of all, we take only mainstream media and divide it again into the countries. Russia again is the leader, and then come the same countries that were in the previous slide, but in a bit of a different order. Just to make it a bit more clear, I made another slide without Russia. This is how the landscape looks without it. Estonia comes first, then Ukraine, Poland, but instead of the rest of the Baltic states, we see Romania, Czech Republic, Hungary, Slovakia, and the rest of the countries. So, so Poland is actually doing pretty good in terms of competition with the rest of Central and Eastern Europe, but in my opinion it's not doing good enough, but that's something I'm going to talk about also a bit later. What can we see from this data as well? What are the differences between interests of mainstream media and niche media outlets? Both are mostly interested in features and reports and non-time sensitive topics, non-time sensitive stories, but then the differences begin, because mainstream media would rather write about funding news and mergers and acquisitions news, while the niche media are more interested in local startups and ecosystems announcements. Then the mainstream media are more interested in law and policy news stories, while the niche media are not, for some reason, I have no idea why, but that's how it looks like. They are not that much interested in the policy news, but they would rather write about funding and big companies. So these are the differences that should be taken into account when pitching different stories to different media. What else can we see? Which particular media outlets are interested in Central and Eastern Europe in terms of the number of stories covered from April 2015 to April 2016? TechCrunch is the leader. They ran more than 45 stories on Central and Eastern European countries. Then come tech.eu, then comes the next web, Reuters, well, a wire service, Ars Technica, Bloomberg, and the rest of the names we all know. Who writes particularly about Poland? TechCrunch. Again, TechCrunch and TechEU seem to be the most interested media. So this is again for startups. It makes sense to pitch stories to them first, just because they are much more likely to write about you. Let's see, what are they actually writing about? Strangely, it was a surprise to me, but in Poland, the most interesting topic for international mainstream media is funding rounds. So they mostly write about funding and mergers and acquisitions. Then come startups and ecosystem, then come the big companies, features and reports, the non-time sensitive stuff, then the other news, and only then law, policy and government. Apparently the government of Poland doesn't do much about startups, so there is not much to write about. What else? Let's compare Poland with different CE countries. So the top one is the average of Central and Eastern Europe. What kind of stories are covered by mainstream media in Central Eastern Europe on average. Then comes Poland and the rest of the countries. As you can see, Poland is actually pretty unique in its region. So not too many long reads, not too many feature stories, but at the same time a lot of funding news stories and a lot of startups and ecosystems announcement. Also on this particular slides I can explain why Russia was that huge of a leader in terms of the number of stories covered by international media. As you can see, it has a pretty big green chunk in it, which is law, policy and government news stories. And this is the main reason, because of what's going on in Russia right now, because what Russian government is doing right now with the internet, with the freedom of speech, this has become a very interesting topic for a lot of media to cover. So that's the main reason, and then they also have a lot of stories going on with the bigger companies like Vkontakte or Mail.ru Group or Yandex. These are two main reasons why Russia is so big. So once again, just to sum it up, how the mainstream media see the Polish tech ecosystem. They only run about 2 stories a month. Most of these stories are funding and mergers and acquisitions reports. Most of the stories are run by TechCrunch or Tech.eu, and I am pretty sure that there is much more than this going on in this country. So, and there are ways for local startups, there are ways for local companies to get much more coverage from the media. Should I try to fix it? Yeah, cool. I'm pretty sure that we all can do better, and the people who do marketing relations for startups can do much better than that. And I'm going to show a few a few ways that would be applicable for the local startups to use in their media relations. First of all, people say that RSS is dead, but it's not dead for people in the media relations, it's not dead for journalists as well. So if you want to understand the media, if you want to understand what the media are interested in, subscribe to their RSS feeds and read them for a few weeks. I think you will understand lots of things about what to pitch them. Among other tools, there is index.co. It's a tool that you can use to follow different countries, different markets, different topics, and see what kind of media cover it mostly. There is also Crunchbase. There are Google News alerts, which you can use together with the RSS feeds. This is a very powerful tool if you can learn how to play with it. And there is also TechMem, which is a very good website. It's a news aggregator of technology news. It is a bit US-centric, which should be taken into account when using it, but then if you read it, you understand the current agenda of tech news websites, you understand what can be interesting for them. Now, after that, there are just 3 things to be aware of. 3 parts of your homework that you need to do before you actually pitch the media. First one is knowing the actual media, and I've just shown an example how you can dig deeper into the ways media cover different markets and media cover different countries. So understand it and understand what kind of media you want to pitch first of all. Then understand your own strengths and find your own treasure trove, so to say. This is about the expertise or maybe experience or maybe data that you as a startup, you as a company possess that you can leverage in order to craft stories for the media. It could be anything. For example, let's say Pornhub is a great website, but they are known in the media by their data because they have they have huge audience. And they leveraged this audience and they made very great reports on different parts of different dimensions of their audience. So think about it like this. Think about what do you have and what is it that you have that could be interesting for different media outlets. Next, think about what are your ultimate goals. Basically, what is you want to get coverage with the media, but what do you want to do it for? If your ultimate goal, for example, is to get more clients, then think about who your clients first of all are, and what kind of media cater to this particular audience. Because if you don't do that, it might be that you pitch the media, you get the coverage, but after that, your target audience does not read it. And then that basically means that all your effort, all your resources go in vain. Now, this was supposed to be the last slide of my presentation, but then I decided to take a look at my inbox and thought that I should give just 3 small pieces of advice about how to actually pitch the media and about things that it's better not to do. First of all, do not mail merge. For those who don't know, mail merging is to mail merge is to send lots of emails using a base of email addresses and names. If you mail merge, it can go like this. And then if a journalist receives something like this, it's understandable from the first glance that this is a carpet bombing of many of journalist inboxes, and this is not something you want to do, and this does not create a very good impression at all. The other thing is try to pitch something new. This is very often overlooked by different startups. But it is very important. For example, if a journalist has just written a story about a particular market, pitching them the same story once again, but from your perspective, makes no sense. No one will run this story again. Every time I write about a particular industry, for the next week my inbox is flooded by emails from different startups pitching me the same story all over again, but just from their own perspective. So think about it and try to create something new. And also, if you follow particular journalists, try to understand what actually interests them, because sometimes journalists would write a one-off story on a particular market that is not of their interest, and they will not write about this particular topic once again. So just think about it and follow the journalist for longer than 1 week, and try to create a meaningful relationship and try to create understanding of what you might interest them in. And the next and the last piece of advice is try not to violate people's privacy. Try not to bombard people with messages in social networks, with phone calls, God forbid, with texts and so on. I just took 3 first examples from my own inboxes. So do not send press releases in Facebook. This makes no sense at all. Do not send messages in social networks right after you send a press release by email. It again makes no sense. And a bonus at the bottom left image, try to make sure that you spell the journalist's name correctly. It really creates a good impression. So that's about it, and I'm ready to take any questions. Thank you. Questions? Anyone? Okay. So if you will have questions later, you can write me or tweet at me. I will respond to everything. Thank you again.